Long before European ships arrived, indigenous peoples thrived across Canada. From the Inuit of the Arctic to the Haida of the Pacific Northwest, diverse communities flourished for millennia. They developed complex social structures, distinct languages, and deep spiritual connections to the land. Their stories form the foundation of Canada's history. Norse explorers reached the Atlantic coast around 1000 AD, leaving evidence at L'Anse aux Meadows in Newfoundland. John Cabot arrived in 1497, sailing for the English crown, setting the stage for European interest. The French, led by Jacques Cartier, established a presence in the St. Lawrence River Valley. They called it New France and developed a fur trade with indigenous peoples. This relationship laid the groundwork for future conflicts. The 7 Years' War, from 1756 to 1763, proved to be a turning point. The 7 Years' War, a global conflict fought between European powers, had significant consequences for the future of Canada. British forces, after a hard-fought campaign, defeated the French in 1763. The Treaty of Paris, which ended the war, ceded control of New France to Great Britain. This victory dramatically reshaped the political landscape of North America. The influx of British settlers, particularly after the American Revolution, added another layer of complexity to the Canadian story. Many United Empire loyalists, seeking to remain under British rule, fled the newly formed United States and settled in what are now Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Ontario. This migration solidified English language and culture in these regions, shaping the character of these provinces. In 1812, the two nations once again went to war, with Canada serving as a key battleground. The War of 1812, while militarily inconclusive, had a profound impact on Canadian identity. As the 19th century progressed, the desire for greater autonomy from Britain grew within the British North American colonies. On July 1, 1867, the Dominion of Canada was born. Confederation, initially uniting Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and the province of Canada, which was then divided into Ontario and Quebec, marked a pivotal moment in the country's history. The decades following Confederation witnessed significant expansion. Driven by the promise of land, resources, and opportunity, settlers moved westward, displacing indigenous peoples from their traditional territories. The completion of the Canadian Pacific Railway in 1885 connected the country from coast to coast, facilitating trade, communication, and further westward expansion. Manitoba, British Columbia, and Prince Edward Island joined Confederation, followed by Alberta and Saskatchewan in 1905. However, this expansion came at a heavy cost to indigenous peoples. Treaties, often signed under duress and characterized by broken promises, sought to extinguish indigenous title to land in exchange for reserves and limited rights. Addressing these historical injustices and working towards reconciliation with indigenous peoples remain pressing challenges for the nation. The 20th century brought new challenges and triumphs for Canada. The World Wars tested the nation's resolve and demonstrated its growing international presence. Canadian soldiers fought bravely in both conflicts, forging a reputation for courage and sacrifice. These experiences solidified Canada's sense of national identity and its place on the world stage. The aftermath of World War II saw Canada emerge as a more confident and independent nation. The country played an active role in the formation of the United Nations and other international organizations, embracing multilateralism and peacekeeping. The quest for full autonomy from Great Britain culminated in 1931 with the Statute of Westminster, which granted Canada legislative independence. However, it wasn't until 1982 that Canada patriated its constitution from the United Kingdom. The Constitution Act, 1982, including the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, enshrined fundamental rights and freedoms for all Canadians. The latter half of the 20th century saw the rise of the Quebec sovereignty movement. Fueled by cultural anxieties, the movement sought greater autonomy, leading to referendums in 1980 and 1995. Although both failed, they highlighted Quebec's unique aspirations within Canada. Modern Canada prides itself on multiculturalism and inclusivity. Immigration has enriched the social fabric, creating a vibrant mosaic of cultures. Reconciliation with Indigenous peoples is an ongoing journey. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission exposed the legacy of residential schools and issued calls to action. Canada is taking steps towards healing and building a just future.